Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys watched the video I did last week. It was a little bit of a different style. I didn't appear on camera at all. This week, I want to talk about populism and maybe a little bit of a white pill because possibly it's on the rise. But before I get into it, as always, why don't you like this video, subscribe, and give me a comment below on what your opinion is on populism and if it's gonna make a major comeback. Pomona College, a liberal arts university in California, put out a statement saying that their mission was one that was founded upon the discovery of truth, the collaborative development of knowledge, and the betterment of society. POC students, apparently taking this as an offense to their culture and community, drafted a response letter, which stated, quote, "Historically, white supremacy has venerated the idea of objectivity and wielded a dichotomy of subjectivity versus objectivity as a means of silencing oppressed peoples." I can only roll my eyes at this idea because the letter by the students seems to suggest that the statement put out by the college was created to promote white supremacy. The letter goes on to state that truth was an element rooted in the Enlightenment, which was a movement that described black and brown people as both subhuman and resistant to pain. This is not very much different to the pamphlets that were put up on the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History, which stated that things like hard work and long-term planning and objectivity were elements of whiteness. What does this constant angst around POCs and whiteness say? That cultural Marxism, where everyone is the same, is not realistic. That multiculturalism is increasingly collapsing into tribalism.
ID passport for all! ID passport for all! ID passport for all!
Which populations, out of some kind of instinctual knowledge, are increasingly rejecting. It used to be that people in different cultures of Western society were given a classical education instead of a modern secularist education, an education which integrated culture, tradition, and morals with reality and facts. We have done away with the objective morality and with everything but the facts, and that has obviously had an effect, a detrimental effect on people everywhere. Classical education basically taught objective morality. The modern version of the world, however, removed that wisdom of the ancients. It removed wisdom, virtue, and morals. There's no objective meaning or purpose in a world of facts. So, we enter the scientific age. It was no longer about wisdom or objective truth and moral laws, but only about science. And so what happens? In the world of secularism, where there is no objective morality, people create their own meaning, their own beliefs around their feelings and emotions. And so these new belief systems around sexuality and race are born. The new religions of multiculturalism and LGBTQ and feminism and race become new religions. The new belief system which we start teaching children in schools. In modern education, modern man is not taught moral standards, but it's obvious that our nature craves those standards. It's obvious that we crave more than facts. So why are we entering the postmodern age? Because it seems Westerners and the world at large are growing tired of the one-size-fits-all approach. That this universality of scientific rationality is collapsing in the hearts and minds of most people. There was a void to be filled which could not be filled by simple facts. Because this modern world is reduced to secularism in which our higher authority is the state. The question of humanity and human virtues are obsolete. Europe, for example, was built by a people for their descendants. And somehow, now those structures that were built by the ancestors of Europeans don't fit newcomers. The blame is put on the native population as if their ancestors had some kind of evil, racist intent. Globalization takes away local practice and instills a standard for everyone, taking no account of local temperaments or values. It assumes that everyone is the same, has on average the same priorities and the same disposition all across the world. To do this globalist vision, you have to take away the roots of traditions and cultures. And how I mentioned in my previous video, the results of these traditions become nothing more than a tourist attraction, a culture of consumers devoid of meaning. We became dependent societies, dependent upon experts, dependent upon consumption. Some people might continue to believe that the rise of globalism is inevitable, but there seems to be an overwhelming amount of resistance. As an example, in the past 17 years, the number of nationalist and populist parties has gone from 33 to 63, and their share of votes has tripled as well in that time. Hungary, Poland, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic all have nationalist governments, all hostile to the European Union's immigration quotas. A globalist entity telling sovereign nations how many immigrants to take in.
Unsere Gesellschaft wird sich ändern. Unsere Stadt wird sich radikal verändern. Ich bin der Auffassung, dass wir in 20, 30 Jahren gar keine ethnischen Mehrheiten mehr haben in unserer Stadt. Das ist auch das, was Migrationsforscherinnen und Forscher sagen. Wir werden in einer Stadt leben, in der es einfach, dass unsere Stadt davon lebt, dass wir ganz viele verschiedene Ethnien haben, ganz viele Menschen, dass wir eine superkulturelle Gesellschaft haben, meine Damen und Herren. Das ist das, was wir haben werden in der Zukunft. Und ich sage Ihnen noch ganz deutlich, gerade hier in Richtung rechts, das ist gut so.
The New York Times said, in a very negative way, in most major Western European countries, center-left parties are in retreat, and in some cases, they have practically ceased to exist. And they wrote this as if that was a bad thing. On the one hand, you have non-Western nations saying that globalism represents nothing more than a foreign invasion, a sort of invasive cultural imperialism. This line can appeal to lefties and liberals, so be sure to remember that when you're talking to your liberal friends. And on the other hand, the nation state has always promised to provide secure borders, a stable economy, and to provide a safe space for populations to celebrate its traditions, its costumes, and religion. In the words of C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity, it is easy to think the state has a lot of different objects: military, political, economic, and whatnot. But in a way, things are much simpler than that. The state exists simply to promote and protect the ordinary happiness of human beings in this life. A husband and a wife chatting over a fire, a couple of friends having a game of darts in a pub, a man reading a book in his own room or digging in his own garden. That is what the state is there for. And unless they're helping to increase and prolong and protect such moments, all the laws, parliaments, armies, courts, police, economics, etc., are simply a waste of time. The state is obviously not doing this. The population instead is being forced to accept mass immigration. It is not providing a stable economy, since the mass immigration drives the wages down for the middle class. And what's worse, it's giving money away to illegal aliens while simultaneously neglecting their own people who are out of work and homeless, and telling their populations that their traditions are racist, sexist, or simply not inclusive enough. And the threat of terrorism seems to be ever present. Manufacturing jobs are exported abroad, and wages in general, as I said, are lowered in the West. It doesn't exactly seem fair to the bulk of the working class. In Spain, for example, only about 30% of the youth still supports the European Union, and that's down to 12% in Italy. And because of this globalization, the natural result is for nations to move away from their traditions and distinct culture. So now you have people that feel that everything that made them unique and distinct from other cultures is withering away. So people are naturally reacting to this. And therefore, everywhere we look, the embrace of populism and nationalism seem to be growing in the hearts of many. And it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. The truth is, once you see it, you can't unsee it. But many of us have to break through the conditioning of loving multiculturalism and the changing of our cultures, which we have been told are archaic, and we've been told this for decades. But a little white pill. Historically, in the face of threats to a sense of place, identity, and security, populations tend to reassert their historic identity as a mechanism of resistance. So as I've said in my previous videos, we are living in very interesting times, and I believe we will see some major shakeups. So I'll see you next time, and don't forget to tell me what you think, what you really think of the rise of populism.